Yeah, American Idiot, indeed. Anyway, the chorus does sound good. It's really
You don't need to
catchy.
insult me, John. I mean, there's no need for name calling here.
So, yeah. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles, you bastard. My name's John. His name is Andy. Walking through the suburbs, though we're not exactly lovers, you're a couple, especially when your body's doubled. Duplicate and then you wait for the next Kuwait. More of that later. But first, we have a track to listen to, selected by Brother Andy. What do you got for us today?
We are going to be revisiting a band, one that we listened to quite some time ago, and it will only be for the second time here on the channel. But that band is called sElf. Do you remember our one dalliance in the past having listened to sElf?
I remember that we did listen to Self. I don't remember the name of the song.
The name of the track was Canon. So we listened to Canon by sElf, and it was off the same album on which this track features, but it's worth revisiting. So, at least in my estimation, my humble estimation, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this track So Low by them. So please go off, give it a listen, and let me know your thoughts.
Okay, will do.
Hello, meet my problems. I only miss you when I'm with you. Gotta fly for the jet around town. Gone sour to the bone, gone bad.
What was that? So it starts with this piano chord and there's acoustic guitar and your man's singing away, and clear from the visuals, this is going to be some sort of um, self-referential video about the music industry in what, noughties, 90s. Yeah, and the excesses of egos, I guess. But yeah, this like huge stabbing chord comes in, the equivalent of a French New Wave jump cut for no apparent reason. And it's just like someone's just, taking a big dump in the room and then no one ever speaks about it again. Really odd. Let me just go back and there you go.
Problems. I only miss you when I'm with you. Gotta fly for the jet around town. Gone sour to the bone, gone bad to the marrow. Financial situations
Nice
simply
organ.
gives a slap in the face is what I really needed from a strong man to make me a man. What more could I ask? What more could I stand? I'm so low that I wish I was dead, with enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? So all my friends today.
Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. The drums come in installments, and I think this is effective. Trying to affect a sort of hip hop beat, I think, which is interesting. There's also this electronica sort of pops and burbles going on there, which again is quite interesting. But it's sounding quite thin, and that I guess that must be the chorus where he sings "I'm so low, I wish I was dead." But you've got this rising keyboard part, which again sounds like the rising anxieties. It's quite nice actually, and then in comes the full band here. The visuals are quite interesting. That classic, the big boa and the sort of the faux fur coat in these gaudy colours again is really, they've nailed that in terms of wanky attire. It is quite funny, the video, and it's annoying at the same time, but you can see they're clearly doing it, taking the piss. The band that springs to mind straight away, and I've got nothing against them, is Dandy Warhols. They had that excess after their Vodafone hit. There's others, obviously, but yeah, interesting.
I'm so low that I wish I was dead. I gave everything away. Now I'm bound only by twine and thread. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. With enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? I'm so low that I wish I was dead. With enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. On a short leash, yeah, she.
So that was interesting, a little bit there, again with more of these sort of electronic burblings. It's kind of reminded me in a way of John Spencer, Blues Explosion, when they brought out Orange with those hip hop beats. And then afterwards, the experimental remixes, which I think were over a period of time and then collated, but sort of 95. Yeah, that sort of time, and then onwards. Really interesting. This is coming more from a sort of indie pop angle rather than the sort of bluesy, punkish angle that John Spencer Blues Explosion is coming from. But yeah, interesting how they're similar. They're coming from a different direction.
Was earthbound, so I threw her in the lost and found. Now she's scaring me. I find charity with a pink trombone and a tune. Just ignore my footprints and just ignore the sand. My epitaph stands before me, so wear your ego to the funeral of a frightened man. 'Cause I'm so low that I wish I was dead. With enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? I'm so low that I wish I was dead. With enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? Saw her standing in the doorway, fade away, and I believe in it.
This is such a mistake.
I'm dead. If I were dead, she wouldn't love me anymore. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. With enough in my chest and a bullet through my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? Just give me time. Wish I was dead.
Yeah, so that was funny. It was that to the piano bit. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, and all the classic sort of like techniques and things from there, like the pre-chorus, you isolate the vocals and then it comes in with a crash. The chorus does sound great actually in full rather than the first one. You still got that sort of keyboard rising up, but it sounds really good when it's full. The verses sound quite bitty, to be honest with you. That sort of strumming guitar, so it's like it's sort of looped in there. It sounded like it was starting to slip before that big chorus, before he went off to be his maker. And it strikes me as he's singing solo and he's being led away in an ambulance while his bandmates are watching on, that it could be SOLO as well, solo, like, you know, maybe suckers, maybe not.
Don't give me time to miss you. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you.
Wow. That sort of fade out was quite just appeared out of nowhere and was quite fairly sudden. Interesting. Yeah, I think as a song, it was all right. Didn't bowl me over, but there was nothing to hate on it really. I think the video was funny and annoying, but I think it's supposed to be annoying. Like full of not sort of 90s nonsense. But I'm wondering if this is of that time or if this is 10 years after, referring back to it and taking the piss. Well, or even referring back a year or two and taking the piss, but one hopes they were. Um, surely, surely to goodness there must be. We need to find out more. To do that, we must go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, so you're back from the depths of so low. Does it have you feeling so high? Let us know.
Okay, so yeah, I did listen to this solo. Um, it opens with piano chords, I think, the acoustic guitar and the singer being pampered. Before about 7 seconds, we get the musical equivalent of a French Nouvelle Vague Jean-Luc Godard jump cut, this sort of half a second of a meaty chord stab from electric guitar and maybe other stuff. Um, for no apparent reason. And it never comes back either. So yeah, I don't know what the hell that was about. A few seconds later, we get a drum intro in installments. I think it arrived by post in about 7 different boxes. It wasn't quite falling down the stairs, but it was pretty close to it as an intro rather than an outro, which is interesting. And we have a waft of an organ as well. I think at this point they're going for some sort of almost hip hop beats, which is interesting. Um, and they've also got added what I call sort of popcorn electronica. There's these sort of electrical generated sort of sounds and whiz bangs and stuff. Again, which is interesting. We get, which I later learned is a diluted version of the chorus. I'm so low, I wish I was dead, etc., etc. He says because he didn't catch the rest. This is accompanied by this very thin sounding sort of keyboard that is incy wincy. It's rising, and as it does, it does a really good job of sort of exuding anxiety and rising anxiety as well, which is good effect. The rest of the band join in then on the next verse with this strumming guitar that's sort of piecemeal. It just comes for a strum and then goes almost like it's on looped in. Very simple bass line over the continuing electric pops and fizz bangs. And then there's another sort of keyboard sound tying it all together, a bit like the dude's rug in Lebowski. We get this classic isolated vocal line preceding a crash into the chorus. This is like, and the chorus is now with full musical complement. I believe the video is a bit of a piss take. I really hope it is, as it's really on the nose for tossy sort of 90s and early noughties excesses of bands and their egos. And the first thing that popped into my head while watching this, with that feather boa and the faux fur jacket in bright, garish colour, I just immediately thought of the excesses of the Dandy Warhols post Vodafone success. Have you seen the film Dig? But the next the video they do after that is just an absolute fucking nightmare. Their egos are all over the place, and they spunk so much money on the wall. It's unbelievable. They're not the last band to come to mind, but they're the first. There's many more, I'm sure. Also, for some reason, this song, I can't put my finger on why, but it makes me think, it reminds me of Green Day when they were trying to be a bit more poppy. And you can make the argument that Green Day always were poppy, but that's a debate for another day. Yeah, American Idiot, indeed. Anyway, the chorus does sound good. It's really
You don't need to
catchy.
insult me, John. I mean, there's no need for name calling here.
So, yeah, I mean, it's ubiquitous, isn't it? But anyway, um, uh, yeah, the chorus does sound it's good. It's catchy as well. And with a knife in my chest and a bullet through my head, I learned this time around. Um, after the singer asks if he must go on, we get a breakdown to more burbling electronica, and this with the sort of faux hip hop beats is reminding me really strangely of Orange, the album, and or the after that the experimental remixes done by John Spencer, Blues Explosion. You have to say it like that every time. Which Orange came out in '94, and then the experimental remixes was started in '95 and continued on, and then were collated together later. Um, and it's really interesting because it is similar in a lot of ways. It's just coming from a slightly different angle. Like this Blues Explosion came from a sort of heavy punk-based blues sort of angle into it, to add on this sort of extra dimension. And this has come more from a sort of indie rock, indie pop sort of angle, but using the same things and coming up with different results. But it's interesting how they both are attaching these things
Mm.
to what you wouldn't normally do. So yeah, really interesting take. The singer comes back for the next verse. There's almost a hint of Beck in his delivery as well, sort of Odelay era Beck, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
you're checking a few boxes here with your comps, so it's interesting.
yeah. The melody in this verse musically starts to slip a little bit, actually. And it's really held together only by the vocal line. Towards the end of this verse, that strumming guitar, I don't know if it's my imagination, but it almost started to slip into sort of uh, uh, into a weird area. But then the vocal, sorry, but then the big chorus comes back in and sort of saves it. Um, I thought it was going to go into this sort of interesting area, but it didn't quite. But perhaps it's my imagination. Um, um, after this post-chorus, which was hilarious, of this touching piano bridge shot in black and white, you know, as he's up and imagining the pearly gates or whatever. Um, it was really funny, and it was just sort of again faux emotional sort of bit in it, which they referenced in the video. Super Chunk would say, "Here's where the strings come in." It did tickle me, that did. And then the final climactic chorus has these overlapping, almost spoken vocals as well, which is another sort of tick. I'm wondering when this came out, whether it's referring. I mean, the three options here is it's like, you know, 10 years referring back to the mid noughties, or it's contemporary and referring back a couple of years, or you know they actually are doing it and mean it. I don't know if referential or not, but yeah, it's interesting. Um, the final fade out of the song comes almost not quite mid splurge, but it comes as a bit of a surprise. Actually, it's this quite sudden, comes from nowhere, the fade out, and it's a fairly quick as opposed to some of the fade outs that we've had the last nearly a minute. Um, so yeah, it was sort of a bit of a surprise. I think this is okay. It was a little bit bitty in sound, like it wasn't quite tied in as a first listen. And I'm trying not to be overcritical. I think, but it had loads of ideas which I liked. Um, so I think it would pay off more lessons, as it were. The video imagery slightly annoyed me, but I guess it was supposed to because I think it was taking the piss, obviously.
Yeah.
If it was on the nose and sincere, then you know, God bless them. I think fans or regular listeners to the band would appreciate the humor even more if they knew the
Mhm.
characters and exactly where it's coming from. But on face value, for me, I think they were taking the piss. So yeah, overall, I think it was a decent song. Not blown me away, but you know, it was enough there to enjoy.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for giving it a spin and giving me and us in the audience your thoughts on it. I'm not going to go too deep into the band. I'll touch on a little bit as a refresher because it has been a while. But if you'd like to learn more about The band itself, go check out our video devoted to Canon, where we touch on them a bit more, and I'll also give you a glimpse into another one of their tracks if you are not familiar. Go ahead, John.
So I meant to say as well, I kind of got little snippets of memory listening to this, but I think the song I listened to before was a bit more sort of loud, quiet, traditional indie rocky type thing, as this is a bit more. There's bits in this that are quite poppy, and there's bits in this which obviously had other ideas as well. So they're quite dissimilar, the two songs, I think, in my mind anyway.
Yeah. There certainly weren't carbon copies, or at least the tact taken when writing them was different. So there's that. So yeah, Self was formed in 1993 in Murfreesboro, Tennessee by Matt Mahaffey. Simultaneously, his band Eliminapi disbanded, and Sponge Bath Records was founded by the two Mahaffey brothers and talent manager Richard Williams. Mahaffey began writing his. Go ahead.
I thought two Mahaffey brothers would be a whole Mahaffey brother. Sorry. Sorry.
Two Mahaffeys make him a holy. This is true. So Mahaffey began writing his debut album after encouragement from Williams, recruiting his brother Mike Mahaffey as guitarist for recording assistance. After a public performance in Nashville, Tennessee, he received and accepted a recording contract from Zoo Entertainment in March of 1995. The label partnered with Sponge Bath to co-release albums for a year, distributing them through BMG. By the time of the Self signing, the band had completed 5 satisfactory songs from 1994 and was given 2 months to finish the rest of the album, completing it by May of 1995. So that is around the time we're talking here. So not the noughties, as you like to say. This is more mid-90s. The project was solely recorded analog, while Mahaffey approached writing with guitar and drums, later recording samples of himself to save on costs. To prevent monotony, Mahaffey aimed to make the album Subliminal Plastic Motives as diverse as possible by incorporating all of his influences, such as Beastie Boys, Pavement, and Prince. So this odd bit of genre hopping, or a beat that is very much of the hip hop genre, as you were quick to point out, probably getting some of that Beastie Boys, maybe even a taste of that Prince in there as well. He also prioritized live playability, minimizing the usage of tight synthetic sequences. The band's debut album, the aforementioned Subliminal Plastic Motives, released on October 24th of 95. The album was commercially successful, with sales exceeding 40,000 units by 97, and its singles receiving radio play. After release, Self recruited 3 more members for live performances: keyboardist Chris James, a college friend of Mahaffey, drummer Jason Rawlings from the local band Brian Cuzzies, and bassist Tim Nobles, who has since been replaced by Matt Burns. It sold, as I mentioned, over 40,000 copies in its first 2 years, with support from the singles Cannon and So Low, both of which we've now listened to. Subliminal Plastic Motives debuted at number 64 on CMJ's alternative radio airplay chart, and had achieved sales exceeding 40,000 units again by 1997. In 2014, Self issued the album's first vinyl release through Fat Possum Records. Critical reception was largely positive, with reviewers commenting on its eclectic production, sharp lyricism, and innovative approach to alternative rock. Andy Hines of AllMusic lauded its fusion of post-grunge guitars, inventive sampling, and pop-driven vocals. Ryan Schreiber of Pitchfork rated the album an 8, liking it to Matthew Sweet's melodic sensibilities, with energetic hip-hop beats and a unique take on power pop. Tom Brand of Stereo Gum classed Subliminal Plastic Motives with Beck style, commented on its chopped, eclectic take on rock music. Laurent of Indie Pop Rock celebrated the album's prevalent energy, hip-hop influences, and jazz elements, declaring it a compelling must-hear record. Michael McCall of Nashville Scene complimented it as an expertly crafted, containing high, rich harmonies with a confident modern edge. Gabe Bessaker of Wolf magazine praised the album's ironic, clever lyrics that balance parody and playfulness, matching its sound with that of Ween and They Might Be Giants. Nick Rainey of Lollipop magazine described it as a blend of Nine Inch Nails and ELO, creating dynamic alternative rock with infectious hooks. I know, quite the marriage. Uh, Eric Brace of the Washington Post noted that the album has as a striking debut, showcasing Mahaffey's versatile songwriting and production with sharp lyrics and rhythms reminiscent of Nirvana and Ben Folds, while pushing modern rock into new territory. And speaking of sharp lyrics, let's have a dive into the lyrics of this track, So Low. Hello, meet my problems. I only miss you when I'm with you. I gotta fly car to jet around town. Gonna sour to the bone, gone bad to the marrow. Financial situations depleted. Guess a slap in the face is what I really needed. From a strong hand to make me a man. What more can I ask? What more can I stand? I'm so low that I wish I was dead, with a knife in my chest and a bullet in my head. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Must I go on? Sold all my friends today. I'm so low that I wish I was dead. Gave everything away. Now I'm bound only by twine and thread. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. Just give me time. Don't give me time to miss you. On a short leash, yet she was earthbound. So I threw her in the lost and found. Now she's scaring me, a fine charity, with a pink trombone and a tuning key. So just ignore the footprints and just ignore the sand. My epitaph stands before me. So wear your ego to the funeral of a frightened man. Saw her standing in the doorway, fade away. And I believe in it. If I were dead, if I were dead, if I were dead, she wouldn't love me anymore. So the song is generally interpreted as an expression of depression, low self-esteem, internal conflict. The song explores themes of not feeling good enough for someone else, the struggle to find one's true identity, and the difficulty of accepting oneself. And I should note, one last little factoid. The band would go on to release 4 more albums between 97 and 2017, with a hiatus during that period in the wake of the passing of Mike Mahaffey, who died in his sleep of unknown causes on May 25th, 2005. So yeah, he lost his brother and recording partner and business partner back at a fairly young age there back in 2005. So yeah, I think they still do tribute concerts occasionally, or concerts dedicated to him and his memory. So yeah, sElf, really interesting band. Definitely one of those bands who we've touched on this before. In the wake of the death of Cobain and along with him, essentially grunge, there are so many bands who tried to do this commercial thing and just tried to take from grunge, water it down, make it palatable for the masses. And here's a guy who, didn't get as much radio play as some of those bands who took that blueprint, doing a bunch of different things and taking from other different genres and not try. One of the few to not try to leech off of the success of a now dying or dead genre and trying to create his own. And whether he was successful to the listener or not, it's wildly commendable that he could have gone the easy route, and probably one that he was pushed to or would have been pushed to if he had signed with a different label, and instead tried to blaze his own path. Perhaps not to the same level of success as the people who sold out, but fuck that. You know what I mean? He kept his integrity and he did what he wanted to do, and he sold records. So he got to do all the things. So hats off to sElf and their music. I think this debut album is a really good one and worth checking out. So thanks for giving them another go, John, and your honest opinion of them. I appreciate it, pal. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just reminded me what you said there. We touched on this loads of times before, but there was a person you mentioned within that summary with the reviews of Ben Folds was another guy who did his own stuff when he had been pressured to do other things that would have been more commercially successful. And it was probably unfashionable what he sort of did, the piano bass sort of middle of the road almost sort of rock. But God bless him for doing it. And it was great. It was a breath of fresh air, really. And it's just great to hear these people do this stuff and not be allowed to do this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And not being tainted by the, in this case, probably the two devils on their shoulder when it comes to the American record industry at that time and what they were trying to get anyone who picked up a guitar to then do, or to a very shitty, what's the idea of like replicating the original, everything after becomes more, kind of inbred looking and not right.
Yeah.
And that's yeah, exactly. And that's what would have probably happened. But he stayed true to himself and his music and his own idea for what he wanted that to be. And again, as you've said, as I've said, that's super commendable. Even if we aren't like, that's my exact cup of tea or the prototype of exactly what I would want. Thank God it wasn't the prototype of what the record industry wanted or what the FM band listeners wanted. You know what I mean? So good shit.
Yes, it's also sad about his brother as well. That happened to a friend of mine, actually. I'm trying to think when about it was, probably about 10 years ago. I decided just for fun to set up my own version of Taskmaster, hence the name on this as well. And I recruited a bunch of friends, including one of my friends, and his brother, his older brother, joined as well. And we sort of kept it going for a few months and it kind of petered out. And at the time it did, his older brother died overnight. He's only 18 months older than my friend, and he would have been 41 or something.
Yeah.
And they didn't find a cause. He just died overnight. No obvious thing like a heart attack or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was my friend who actually found him as well. They had to break the door into his flat where he lived and found him dead. So it was really traumatic for him as well. But it's also quite unsettling. I mean, if you have somebody who dies really young like that, but they say, oh, well, his heart gave out or whatever, or he had an aneurysm, you kind of get some, some pathway to your grief, and you think, shit, I'm his brother, I'm 18 months younger, this could happen to me, I better look after myself, it's a wake-up call, etc., etc.
Yeah.
When I say, we just have no idea, he just dropped dead, that is like 3 times more scary as well, because you think, well, fuck, it doesn't matter what I do, I could just go like that,
Yeah.
Your man would have had the thoughts as well,
Yeah.
Shit, my brother died in his sleep, I mean, how old he would have been? He would have probably been in his 30s or something. And
Yeah. I would imagine in that neighborhood for sure, for sure. And then there's those pack-a-day smokers that eat nothing but bacon for breakfast that live to be 90 some years old, and you're like, what the fuck? How does this work in this cosmos? Yeah.
There's no God and there's no justice.
That's a strong, compelling case for that argument. That's for sure.
And that is why I'm an armed vigilante. No.
Oh, great stuff. Well, thank you for giving this a spin, John. I appreciate your thoughts on it. Guys out there in the listening audience, please let us know your thoughts on this track So Low by sElf. Be interested to hear what you have to say. If you guys want to offer up anything for us, feel free to drop it down in the comments field below as well. We will add it to the list for future Friday episodes. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done any or all of those things. We do appreciate it. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.